All right, everybody, what's up? Welcome into a Friday edition of Best on the Board, presented to you by BetMGM. Michael Beller and Casey Joyner here with you to take another look at the wild card weekend that we have in front of us. 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and then 1 game Monday to wrap up this huge weekend, kicking off the 2021-22 NFL playoffs. KC, I cannot wait for tomorrow to get here.
It is a fun playoff matchup. A lot of times, the wild card rounds, you have these dog games, like not underdog games, just like bad games or bad teams, or had quarterback issues and some playing games a few years ago and things where you had these backups.
Yeah.
No, this
TJ
is
Yates. No, you don't want a TJ Yates wild card game.
Exactly. Yeah, one of those games. And yes, this weekend good. A lot of good storylines. A lot of good players are healthy. I mean, there's not one game where I'm going, boy, I'm going to hate watching that game. They all look like they're going to be fun.
Yeah, good storylines, good players, a lot of teams getting back healthy, and it just feels as though, I said this on a show earlier this week, it feels as though this year's a little bit more up in the air. I don't think any of us expect the Eagles, for example, to make a Super Bowl run, but we have teams that we feel like could, a good group of teams that we do feel like can make Super Bowl runs, good group of teams that we feel like could be plucky and pull their best Titans from a couple of years ago and find their way into a conference championship game. There's some uncertainty all the way across the bracket that we haven't seen in recent years. So that should make for, especially, I think, a fun wild card weekend. And so let's get into it. KC, on yesterday's show, we focused mainly on the 2 Saturday games and the Monday game. So you and I are going to hit all 3 of the Sunday games, and then we'll throw out a few bonus picks as we get to the end of the show. So let's start with that first game on Sunday. Buccaneers and Eagles. The Bucs 8.5-point favorites against the Eagles, 45.5 the total on this one. I have trouble getting a feeling for this game just because of the injuries that we've seen the Buccaneers sustain over this last month or so really has changed their offense. Now they're getting Leonard Fournette back. That's going to be a boon to what they want to do. He was a huge part of what they did all season before he went down with their injury. They're definitely the better team. I think they win. I don't know if I can quite go to the 8.5 with them. On the flip side, I don't really want to take the Eagles 8.5. So on the line, this is a stay away for me personally, but I know you're not feeling exactly the same.
I'm with you on that. It's not a great feel for the game, but if I'm looking at it, I'm going, okay, Tampa Bay, even with their offensive injuries, they've shown a propensity for getting into shootout games. And a shootout game, I define it as when each team scores 24 or more points. Now, some teams are good at that, and some teams aren't. In fact, they're always kind of up in the air propositions, because even the best offenses in NFL history win only 60% of their shootout games, and there's a couple of outliers. You take those out, it's like 55%. So it's almost a 50-50 prop, even for the best offenses. But Tampa this year is 5-2 in shootouts. The Eagles are 1-3. And even if you take games that were near shootouts, or a couple of games that Philadelphia got them where they were just a couple points away from a shootout, you take those and they'd be 1-5 in non-shootout games or in shootout games. So they just don't handle it well whenever you get them into that type of contest. And I have a feeling that Tampa is going to get into that type of contest. They're going to need to, because Philadelphia is going to be able to run the ball better than you would have against, say, Tampa Bay's 2020 defense. They will be able to run the ball, but I just don't think they're going to be able to manufacture enough big plays the way the Eagles are. And I don't entirely trust the Eagles secondary. Yeah, it's got some playmakers. Slay's a big play guy. They also have had some coverage weaknesses over the year that I think Tampa Bay is going to be able to exploit.
See, everything you said there leads me to the under actually being my favorite play in this game, because Eagles are going to want to run the ball. Eagles could be able to run the ball successfully, but no matter what, they're going to want to do that. They don't want to play what you just said. They don't want to play a shootout. The Eagles don't want this game to be where you have to score 27 points or 31. Like they don't want to play that sort of game. And I think the Eagles are good enough to have shown us that they can't totally force the Buccaneers to play the style that the Eagles want to play, but they can stick in this game, I think, enough to make it, not a total dismissal out of hand by the Buccaneers. So I just think with what the Eagles are going to want to do offensively, with the Buccaneers not having the offense they had for the balance of the season, and just not so they're adjusting to that. And then even if they have fully adjusted to a world where Tyler Johnson and Cyril Grayson need to play bigger roles, need to play roles, period, which they didn't play at all during the regular season. Like, just because you've adjusted to that doesn't mean they're suddenly going to give you Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown type of numbers. So I don't think the Buccaneers offense is what it was back in October and November. The Eagles are going to want to run the ball. I think this game stays under. That's really my favorite play in this game. A 45.5 is the total on it. And I think with what the Eagles want to do, what the Buccaneers sort of have to do, I think this game ends up being something like, I don't know, like 21-10 Buccaneers, 21-13 Buccaneers. I think that's really the sort of game that we're looking at here. And then the Buccaneers move on and start figuring out what they're going to have to do against, maybe a Dallas team if Dallas ends up knocking off the 49ers. And we're going to talk about that game next. Obviously, we're not exactly sure how things are going to work out in that way. But this is the sort of game to me that just I don't see either offense really getting going in such a big way in this one because of where they are both standing coming into this matchup.
Yeah, I can also see Tampa Bay. Excuse me. Their secondary has also gotten better over the last few weeks too. They've gotten healthier. I mean, they were in a terrible way injury wise earlier. Now they're getting healthier, and I don't see the Eagles being able to, because that's the thing. The Eagles, they've been dealing with the Jalen Hurts ankle injury the past few weeks, and they haven't been able to run the ball as much with him. So I wonder if they're going to, if Philadelphia is going to let him run, and if they do, if they're going to be successful. I just can't see him being able to throw the ball. Which, if it does go under, and I would lean towards it that Philadelphia want to keep it there. Excuse me, I still see it as more of a 24, something like a 24-14 prospect Tampa. So
okay, I mean, Darius Slay matches up with Mike Evans. Like if they can take away Mike Evans in some way, if they can limit Mike Evans to 6 for 70 and a touchdown, like I just don't like.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't see it with the rest of the Buccaneers offense. I just don't see where the rest of everything comes from. Like, I think the Buccaneers are right. The Buccaneers are going to have to defense their way to the Super Bowl. I think this year, defense and Tom Brady doing Tom Brady things, but
yeah,
it's just not going to be the overwhelming offense that they were for a good chunk of last year and for the balance of this season.
Yep. They got to cover Gronk too, though, and the Eagles have been terrible against tight ends this year.
But Gronk's more of like a red zone proposition sort of guy rather like a guy who, big chain mover, like what we would get from Chris Godwin if he were healthy in this game. So, I mean, you look at Slay shutting him, and like the Eagles on the flip side, I mean, they want to run the ball. I mean, do you trust anyone in this passing game outside of Devontae Smith?
No, not even a little bit. Yeah, and mind you, I mean, Goddard's good, but no,
I want to trust Dallas Goedert, but right, but it's sort of like he's not going to be this big like chunk chain mover. We're not talking about Mark Andrews here.
No. And with that healthiness in the secondary, Tampa's going to be able to, they'll be able to concentrate their coverage on they can say we're just going to stop Smith or we're going to slow him down or if we want to stop Goddard, they'll be able to do that. So I think that's a big difference maker for Tampa to have the secondary healthy because it wasn't really this year and it changed the dynamic and now it's different. But the Bucs have given, over 100 rushing yards in 5 of the past 10 games prior to last week's game. So you can't run the ball more against them than you could last year.
Both teams want to run. I mean, the Eagles have to and the Buccaneers. I mean, if you have a 90% healthy Leonard Fournette, that's your surest path on Tampa's offense. Is getting Fournette back to what he was doing in November. And so I think we're going to see a lot of running in this game. Under for me, Bucks -8.5 for you. When we get to the end, we'll come back and power rank these Sunday bets that we make in the next game. On paper, probably the best game of the weekend, probably the most fun, pure matchup where we could really see either team not only winning the game, but maybe making some noise beyond this weekend. Cowboys and 49ers. Cowboys are 3-point favorites in this game at home, 50.5 the total on this one. This should be a fun one. What do you look at when you size up these two teams against one another? What are you looking at first?
I'm looking at if Dallas can get takeaways or not because, excuse me, when they rack up at least one takeaway on defense, if they rack one or fewer takeaways on defense, they're 1-3. They're 11-2 when they post. They're 11-2 when they post one takeaway, 1-3 when they don't. I mean, if they post takeaways, they win games. Excuse me again. Sorry. And you've got Jimmy Garoppolo making mistakes the way that he does. If he has if he's bad Jimmy or even subpar Jimmy or just an average Jimmy, and he's throwing a pick or two, and they're getting
Jimmy like Van Halen.
Exactly. If you've got whichever one of him shows up. If he gives them a couple of turnovers, I mean, Dallas is really hard to beat. I see Dallas as being able to, and San Francisco has 0 giveaways in 5 games this year, but they've done so only once in the past 6 games. So they're trending towards being able to give turnovers. They've got a stout rush defense, and the rush offense is powerful. So that's good. I think both teams have multiple paths to victory, but I just see Dallas's passing game as being more dynamic. And again, their defense is more dynamic because San Francisco still has some shakiness in the secondary. They finally got some people back last week, but they don't have the playmakers back in their secondary that Dallas does. So I like Dallas -3 on this one.
Yeah, I like Dallas -3 too. That's where I'm leaning. It's probably my 3rd favorite spread bet of the weekend. The first 2 I talked about on yesterday's episode of this show, Bengals -5.5, Bills -4. So I'm trending in the direction of favorites, which always makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Don't want to like too many favorites, but I just, man, we've seen such a ceiling from this Cowboys team this season. We have seen such a ceiling from them, and they've been a little confounding in recent weeks. And I would have loved to have seen a little bit more consistency out of them coming into the playoffs. So they can explain away some of it with that Dak injury in the middle of the season. They lost that game to Denver, so they can sort of hand wave some of that. And then for a lot of that time, they weren't fully healthy. You had Tyron Smith missing some time. You had Michael Gallup missed some time before the season-ending injury. You had CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper both dealing with COVID issues. So they had like it even though like it was like 90% of the offense was always healthy for Dallas, and they couldn't quite get over that mark. And then you give them the Dak stuff and give them a little bit of a pass there. So I would still like to see a little bit more consistency. There's just been such a ceiling for this team, and we know that even if they are not the strongest front to back defense in the playoffs, they can get so much pressure on the quarterback. We've seen that week after week after week. And when they get that going, when they get out to a lead, when they are able to pin their ears back and get that pressure after a quarterback, this looks like a much different team. This is the team that gives me the most pause if I am a Green Bay Packers fan. I really think the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. But if I'm looking at the NFC, if I'm sizing up the rest of the conference, this is the team because of just all the different ways they can, all the different paths to victory that they have. They're the team that scares me the most. So I like the Cowboys -3 here. The 49ers are definitely a scary team. They're another team that was sort of like they have that offense does have a snowball rolling down a hill effect that when they just get going, they can suddenly be like just burst onto you. The Rams experienced it going up 17-0 in that week 18 game. And then boom, the 49ers score 24 points in the second half and win that game in overtime. The Rams had multiple opportunities to close that game down and they couldn't do it. So we know the 49ers can do that. That's why I'm not saying this is an absolute slam dunk pick, even though I'm probably making it. I do like the Cowboys though, because of just like I said, that ceiling is very, very attractive to me. Something else, let me just throw it out there at you. How about a Trey Lance anytime touchdown? Like Trey Lance is going to have, I think we're going to get like an early season Trey Lance role for as long as the 49ers are in the playoffs. They have to have some package for him because of everything he changes up. And we've seen so little of it really since September that we know teams want to put wrinkles in there in the playoffs that teams can't be preparing for in the week leading up to the game. Trey Lance is maybe the ultimate wrinkle available in these playoffs.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And the 49ers, what was it? Shanahan said, I don't want to put Lance in early in the year because we run different kind of offense with him, but they had to. And I think that now has afforded him an opportunity to say, this is how I can put these two styles together. Or again, just for a package play. If you've got it, if you've got first and goal at the 3, why not put Lance in there? There's no reason not to. Exactly.
Look at the success the Raiders have had with Marcus Mariota, and maybe we'll see a little of that against the Bengals tomorrow. But like, you look at that and like, why can't it changes so much, changes the formula for what defenses have to think about when you're inside the 5-yard line. And I wouldn't be surprised to see, you can't do it with everyone, and these are like luxury backups, but like, Mariota, the way he's done, like, can Cam Newton be this style of guy next year? He's already said he's open to being a backup. Can he go be like a sub package sort of quarterback who then like, hey, if our starter gets injured and we have to start him for 2 games, we also feel okay about that. It's going to be interesting to see how the game continues to evolve in that way. But Trey Lance anytime touchdown at plus 1,000. I'll be honest, I wanted it to be a little higher. I was sort of assuming it was going to be a little better. I was sort of, because like you got Kyle Juszczyk, for example, at plus 900. I was sort of assuming Trey Lance was going to be more in like the 1,200 range. I'll take plus 1,000 though. It's a fun bet to have. Love it. And anytime touchdown is a guaranteed 60-minute sweat. Yeah, it's super fun. It's great to have around. So I'm going to throw that out there as well. Let's get one more game on Saturday. Chiefs and Steelers, the biggest spread of the weekend. Chiefs 12.5 point favorites. 46.5 is the total on this one. Casey, you have said on more than one occasion on this show all season that in your house, you guys are Steelers fans.
Yes.
So I'm just going to lay that out there as I lead you into your pick here.
I wonder if this is a homer pick, because we, as Steelers fans, we love them, but we also know what they can't do, and we're well aware of the weaknesses that they have. Their opportunistic defense to the past few weeks. They have 5 takeaways in the past 2 games and 9 of the past 3 contests. They're back to being not just a sack defense. They lead the league in sacks. So, I mean, they're not just a sack defense, but they're also now an opportunistic defense. Now, the Chiefs have racked up a ton of points, and the Chiefs have posted 0 giveaways in 3 straight games and 4 of their past 5. But I keep thinking back to what the troubles that Mahomes had earlier this year, and he was making mistakes. And I keep looking at it going, okay, well, if Pittsburgh gets a turnover or 2 in this game, all right, because Kansas City beat them 36-10 in Week 16,
Yes,
and,
just a couple of weeks ago.
Just a couple weeks ago, but the Steelers were not. They weren't being as opportunistic in that game, and they really looked. They looked completely out of sorts, and they weren't fired up in a way that I think the two victories that they got, the Cleveland and Baltimore wins, I think that's fired up the team in a particular way. I think the Steelers are going to be able to keep this game close. I still think they're losing this game. I absolutely do not think they're going to win this game. They have a 2-10 chance to win this game if they're lucky. I just don't think that Kansas City is going to be able to put their foot on the gas in quite the same way. If Kansas City gets, say, 31 points, do I think the Pittsburgh Steelers can get 20 against their defense? I think they do have enough offensive manufacturing to do it, especially if they get one or two of those turnovers. If they get 2 turnovers in this game, I think they can't put up 20. If they put up 20, I just don't see Kansas City putting up over 31 points in this contest. So I think they're going to win by 10. I just don't, by maybe 10, and maybe less than that, but I don't think they're winning by nearly 2 touchdowns.
It's a big number. I'm holding a Chiefs minus 12.5 ticket. I sort of wish I wasn't at this point, to be honest. It was last Sunday night. I was feeling exuberant with the playoffs set. I was jacked up after that Chargers-Raiders game, just how much fun that was to end the season in that sort of fashion. So I immediately pulled open the app and looked, and I loved the Bengals, grabbed the Bengals right then and there. I saw the Chiefs sitting at minus 12.5. It's like, come on. The Steelers, like, this could so easily be the Colts or the Chargers. I feel like that with the Steelers and the Raiders. Like, they're just two teams, good team. Like, the Raiders won 10 games. The Steelers went 9-7-1. They're good teams. They're solid NFL teams. I just feel like the sort of teams that the bounces sort of like I don't think there's any practical bottom line difference between the Steelers and the Raiders and the Ravens and the Chargers and the Colts and maybe even throw the Browns in there. Just a few more bounces went the Steelers and the Raiders way than went the Ravens and the Chargers way. And so I just fired up. I was like, all right, Chiefs 12.5, let's do it. It's a big number. The Steelers have enough juice defensively, especially with everyone healthy. TJ Watt just being ridiculous at the end of the season. They can make some hay, I think, in the Chiefs' backfield and maybe keep this at that 10-point sort of game, keep it at like a 24-14 style of game, and the Chiefs can't quite pull away. And then maybe the Chiefs get themselves to a point where if the Chiefs are up by 10 in the fourth quarter with the ball, for example, like how motivated are they to like put anything out there? So I think that's something you have to keep in the back of your mind also. I'm not ripping up my Chiefs minus 12.5 ticket. I feel fine about it. If I were forced to pick one side or the other here today, I would pick the Chiefs still minus 12.5. But again, I'm going under. I really like the under in this game too. I think that, I think that the Steelers have enough horses on defense to not let the Chiefs run away from them, not let them do what they did a couple of weeks ago, and not let it be a 36-point day for the Chiefs. I still think the Chiefs can pretty comfortably get to 24 or 27, but I think the Steelers have enough defensively to keep the Chiefs from threatening the over on their own. And I'm sorry, man. I just don't buy this Pittsburgh offense. I don't buy. I mean, the Chiefs defense, right? We were talking about, look at the Chiefs defense keeping the team afloat in the middle of the season. Whatever. I don't know if that's that predictive. The one time they've looked like that Chiefs defense in the last 6 weeks or so was that game against the Steelers.
Yep.
And so, this Ben got his ride off into the sunset already last week by getting into the playoffs here. And this just feels like a happy to be here team versus a team that has its sights set on a third straight trip to the Super Bowl. And I think that they can control this game in such a way that they do end up, it stays under, but the Chiefs win this game and keep the Steelers at arm's length all game. I don't see a realistic path to like 20 points for the Steelers, unlike you. And so I think this game stays under.
I think it's all predicated on the turnovers. If the Steelers don't get those turnovers, if their turnover penchant doesn't continue, the fact like the Steelers hadn't been posting turnovers, I wouldn't have jumped on this. But because they have been, I think they can here. I think we're going to get old Patrick or get early season Patrick. If they don't get early season Patrick and the Chiefs don't get a turnover, they'll win by more than that. I just have to think the Steelers will get those 1 or 2 turnovers that gives them a short field position and allows their offense to get a touchdown that they wouldn't get otherwise.
I mean, look at even some of these wins recently that the Steelers have had. Last week, 16 points against the Ravens. The week before that, they threw up 26 against the Browns. Whatever. It's sort of a different matchup. They lose to the Chiefs. They put up 10 points. They beat the Titans. They scored 19. I mean, this is not an offense that you should be betting to do that. I agree with you. I think they need those turnovers to get there. And so with the way the Chiefs have been playing offensively, the way that line has been protecting Mahomes of late, I do think that the Chiefs can protect the football and keep this game under that 46.5. So that's going to be my play for this matchup. Really quick before we move on to some of the other games that we want to talk about, I said we'd power rank our 3 Sunday picks. So you've got Bucks minus 8.5, Cowboys minus 3, Steelers plus 12.5. What's your confidence level, 1 to 3, with 1 being most confident?
Most confident is that Tampa Bay pick. I just think that Philadelphia has a flawed team. They've got one path to victory, and if they get in the shootout, I think they're going to lose the shootout by. It's not going to go very well for them if they get into that kind of a contest.
Yeah.
Number 2 would probably be Dallas. I just think Dallas has that many more paths to victory, and I'm curious that it's only -3 points for Dallas. I think that their offensive firepower, as great as the Niners can be, they have more paths to victory. The least one is that Pittsburgh game, because if they don't get those turnovers, I would, if they don't get 2 turnovers in this game, Kansas City will beat them by more than 12. If they get the 2, then I think it's a different story.
For me, I'll go under Bucks Eagles 45.5, under Chiefs Steelers 46.5, and then Cowboys -3 as my third pick of the Sunday games. We've got some time to talk about some other things. So, we talked about these 3 other games on yesterday's episode of Best on the Board, but let's throw some of them out there. Your favorite pick among the other 3 games, of course, Bengals Raiders, Bills Patriots, and then Monday night Rams and Cardinals.
Of those, I would have to go Rams and Cardinals. That'd be my next favorite pick in that. I just think that Los Angeles had the collapse last week. They lose a lead. What is it? The first time that they lost a halftime lead under Sean McVay. That's how I think they were 45-0, if I remember the statistic correctly. It's unusual for them. So they've won 5 of the last 6. They have victories over Arizona, Seattle, Minnesota, and Baltimore. Not bad teams. Not all those are great teams, but these are not bad teams of late. Arizona's trending in the opposite direction. They've won just 1 of the last 5, and they beat Dallas in that game in Week 17. Okay, they got that. One of those defeats was a 30-23 loss to the Rams in Week 14, and I just think the Rams are going to be able to get into a higher scoring game than Arizona can keep up in. So I like LA.
This is a stay away for me. I've talked about it a couple of times this week. If forced to make a play, I would take the points and just go with the Cardinals, but it's based on that. It's based on, I feel like these are even, flawed, up and down Jekyll and Hyde teams that I have no confidence in coming into the postseason. So I'll take the points. I do take a lot of solace in the fact that Kyler Murray finally looked like Kyler Murray with his legs last week. Didn't do the Cardinals much good. Still lost that game to Seattle, but we've talked on this show a few times about Kyler looking like a guy who didn't want to run in the middle part of the season and how much that affected the Arizona offense. If he does want to do that again, if he's comfortable, if he's healthy and he's good and he feels confident in his body to start using his legs in the way that makes him one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the league, I like the Cardinals getting 4 points, but this is a stay away. If I have a lucrative Saturday or Sunday, maybe I'll throw a little bit on the Cardinals +4. But other than that, it's a stay away for me. My favorite one, other than this, Bills Patriots. I really like the Bills. Better team, more paths to victory. Patriots need to muck this game up. Weather is not going to be an issue insofar as precipitation or wind. It is going to be extremely cold in Buffalo on Sunday night. Last I saw, kickoff temperature was 4 degrees in this game. It is going to be extremely cold, but no wind at all. We're talking about 8-mile-per-hour winds in this game. That's nothing. And so I think the Bills are going to be able to do what they want to do offensively. They're the better team. They're better. They're a better team. They're a more well-rounded team than the Patriots. And we talked about the Bills. You and I talked about this earlier in the season. They lose Tre'Davious White, and you talk about a team that maybe can't defend the pass as well. Patriots aren't built to take advantage of that. Now, they haven't been the same stout Bills run defense that we saw a year ago. But again, I just think that the Patriots can't keep up. The Patriots cannot keep up in a game that is played in anything other than extremely low-scoring conditions. That's the only way they can keep up with the Bills. And so I like the Bills laying the 4. I think the Bills are a very, very dangerous team on the AFC side of the bracket.
I like Levi Wallace saying, he told Tim Graham The Athletic in that article that Levi Wallace thinks he's the best off corner in the league. That if you're playing off coverage, he is the best in the league. And even Tre'Davious White has helped him and helped him regain his confidence in that. And that's the thing where, okay, so that just says, mind you, look, the Patriots have no passing game. They're not going to be able to get anything done here. None. And they had, if it wasn't for the wind in that one game that they beat them, the Bills probably win that contest. So I think the Bills are probably going to try and make this more, just say, hey, Mac Jones, you're going to have to beat us. We're going to go high scoring. And I think they've shown they can do it. Plus, I like how the Bills can run the ball of late too. That was a weakness for a time where they didn't have any running game. And now they've been able to, they're not a great running team, but they can at least get something done on the ground. And that's scary for New England because that's another path to victory.
All you can do is beat the team that's on the other side of the field from you. You don't make your schedule. All you can do is look at the team that's opposite you on the field and beat them. But let's go back over these last couple of months for the Patriots. Here are their wins. Jaguars at the Bills, the crazy weather game. You can throw that one out. Titans without Derrick Henry, without A.J. Brown. Falcons, Browns, Panthers. They did beat the Chargers in LA. I mean, go back all the season. Jets, Texans, Jets. A lot of teams could have won 10 games looking at that schedule.
Yeah.
The Patriots deserve to be here. They had a hell of a season. They weathered a lot early on, and they came back from a 1-3 start. A lot of teams could have won 10 games against that schedule. I think you look at it, looking at a full strength or close to full strength as you expect to be in the middle of January Bills team. They're going to be able to take care of business against the Patriots this weekend. We're also going to take care of business with some future picks here really quick. But first, let me give you a message from our friends over at BetMGM right now. Bet 10 to win 150 plus get a free 3-month subscription to The Athletic. Go to betmgm.com and use the code The Athletic Pod to take advantage of this offer from the king of sportsbooks. Again, it's bet 10, win 150 plus a free 3 months to The Athletic. Go to betmgm.com, use the code The Athletic Pod. This is a new customer offer for people at BetMGM. Terms and conditions apply. All right, KC, let's wrap this up with one future piece. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Let's want to get you in the future mix as well. We had some love for the Bengals winning the AFC. We had some Packers-Chiefs Super Bowl matchup love yesterday. I threw out an Aaron Rodgers MVP of the Super Bowl pick. Let's hear what you've got for us, your favorite future in the available to us here in the playoffs.
Like the Cowboys. Like Cowboys a lot to win the Super Bowl. I mean, yeah. I really do. Because I think Green Bay's a flawed team. I think their defense is not a powerhouse defense. I think that they have some weaknesses there. And as you said, that just a little bit ago, that of the matchups, the Packers do not want to see the Cowboys. Because the Cowboys could go in and be in a shootout with them. And I think that their defense is a bigger playmaking defense. So you look at, okay, can the Cowboys win throwing the ball? Yes. Can they win running the ball? Yes. Can they win pass rushing with their front seven? Sure. Do they have big plays in the secondary? Yeah. The kicker? I'm not so sold on Zerline, but, he still has range at least. And he can be a good
range.
Yeah.
Greg Zerline has to make a 47-yard field goal in Lambeau Field to advance the Cowboys to the Super Bowl. What are the odds on him making it?
Yeah. I like that better than I do if he's kicking an extra point. I'll put it that way, But I like their path to victory. They can go any of those routes. And I look at the other teams in the NFC and I go, I don't know that every other team in the NFC could say they can win via all those routes, or at least as consistently as Dallas. I know they're going to win forward to win the Super Bowl, but I just look at of them when I look at the plus 1,200, see where they are. I think if this is plus 600, it'd be maybe a little different. I don't know. I like the payoff of it and say I just think when they've got that many paths to victory that they're the kind of team that could get hot and get in a run and win in a variety of ways where I don't think the other NFC teams can do.
So this is interesting. This is probably my favorite Super Bowl future. I think the Packers are winning the Super Bowl. I said this on yesterday's show. I just can't envision a world in which Aaron Rodgers retires with one Super Bowl ring. I can't imagine one Super Bowl appearance, right? Let alone and one Super Bowl. I just can't fathom that happening. And I will say, just for the sake of full disclosure, this is the same reason I kept picking Chris Sale to win the AL Cy Young over and over and over and over again. I couldn't imagine a world where Chris Sale didn't win a Cy Young. He's not going to win a Cy Young in his career at this point. But I can't imagine that. So that's so I do think the Packers are going to win. However, I'm not betting them at plus 375, which is what they're at, on BetMGM right now. So if I was going to make a Super Bowl future, it would be Cowboys, because I do think they're the most dangerous team. And you look at the rest of the NFC, the Rams have a ceiling to be the best team in the NFL on any given week. But can they bring that 4 weeks in a row to win the Super Bowl, 3 weeks in a row to get to those? I don't know. I trust the Rams to beat the Cardinals and then go to Lambeau and beat the Packers and then go to Tampa or I don't know. Same goes for Arizona. They can, any Sunday, they can look like the best team in the NFL. Can they do that 3 or 4 weeks in a row? I'm not sure. I think Green Bay and Dallas especially can do it. And I would have said Tampa, a full strength Tampa, and maybe they can still remake themselves. I mean, you're ever going to count out Tom Brady? Of course not. But those are the 3 teams I look at in the NFC that can really do it. And the AFC, I look at the Chiefs and the Bills. I love what the Bengals are doing. I think the Bengals are an AFC. I think they're the surprise AFC champion. I think they're the surprise championship game contender. I've got Bills versus Bengals in the AFC championship game. Packers over Bills in the Super Bowl is the other one I'm going to throw out here. It's plus 2,000. You can also run it back with Bills over Packers and also get plus 2,000 right now. So that's sort of a nice way to do it. Throw a little bit on both, and then you just kick back on Super Bowl Sunday. Don't care which team wins. I threw out yesterday, so the Packers are plus 375 to win the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers is plus 450 to be the Super Bowl MVP. If you're going can you imagine a world where the Packers win the Super Bowl and Zadarius Smith is the Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah.
If the Packers win the Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers is going to be the Super Bowl MVP. Like, it would have to be either the defense goes crazy or Rodgers has like a 250-yard, 2-touchdown, 2-interception game, and Devontae Adams goes for like 200 in both of those touchdowns. Those are the past Aaron Rodgers not winning the Super Bowl MVP. So if you're gonna bet the Packers to win the Super Bowl, I would say just bet Aaron Rodgers to win the Super Bowl MVP. You're gonna get a little bit more juice there. But I love this Packers-Bills matchup. I like the way that the playoffs have set up for the Bills here. I just think that when they get everything together, and the AFC is like a true when they get everything together, because we have seen flaws from all of these AFC teams this year. Titans, absolutely, and like we don't know what Derrick Henry is coming back to these playoffs. Foot injury for a running back, a big running back like him. We've seen those flaws from the Chiefs. The Bengals, I think, are a team that we are going to be talking about as a Super Bowl contender for years to come. We all know how hard it is to break through in your first bite at the apple. The Bills, when they get it all together, I think they're the best team in the AFC. So Packers-Bills, Super Bowl matchup. Bet both sides of it. I'm putting the Packers over the Bills as my pick here because that's what I think is going to happen. But you bet both sides. You get plus 2,000 on both. You sit back on Super Bowl Sunday, you eat those nachos, and you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, and you got the one again. Packers only need to win 3. Everybody else needs to win 4. So that's big. And the Bills getting out of the AFC. Yeah, I think it's as much as I like the Bengals to be. The Bengals are a team that could beat anybody on any given Sunday. They have a lot of past victory too. But look, it's Bills Chiefs in these playoffs, and the Chiefs Mahomes, those errors they made earlier this year, it's scary. And could you see Buffalo beating? Yeah, and Buffalo, by the way, I like how they got motivated after New England beat them, and McDermott's like, hey, Belichick's not that great of a coach, and he got so mad about it. I think they're mad at Kansas City, and if they get in with Kansas City, they're going to be so fired up. I would not be surprised to see them beat Kansas City. So I like this pick.
Brian Daboll's made himself into a hot head coaching candidate by what he's done with Josh Allen in that passing game, but it was like they finally snapped into some sort of real world realization of we're never going to be a Tennessee Titans, Cleveland Browns style of team, but we got to keep teams a little bit honest with our run game. And Devin Singletary has played well enough to make teams be honest. And I think that has just rounded up the Bills offense into what it can really be over a month-long stretch here in the playoffs. So that's my future for you here today. Packers over Bills plus 2,000. And that's our show here today. That's going to do it for this episode of Best on the Board. For Casey Joyner, I am Michael Beller. We say thank you, of course, for listening to us or watching us if you're here on YouTube. And as always, happy betting and good luck. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.